So,
Mic off.
we're going to open our next scene with Odette and Braun coming back into the Silver Stump. Dale and Astric are speaking, probably sitting on top of the bar, sharing a drink of
Mic
the
on.
ale that they had either stored away from their purchase of the building that has been preserved, or from their collection of alcohol they have gone through Tidar, making sure the bar was ready if we ever had guests. So, speaking about what possibly Odette and Braun could be doing together, they come in and they are shaken, I would say, but not in a bad way. There is a smile across both of their faces as they look at each other, a acceptance of each other, as well as possibly a bit of fear about the power and potential the other has over the other. If either one of them has any other emotions or feelings about what they had seen or felt, please tell me now.
I don't think Odette's smiling. She doesn't
Go
really
ahead
do
then.
that.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty
It's
stone faced like normal. She's not like, you know, beaming, smiling. I think that'd be even scarier than anything else she's done till now.
Mm-hmm.
that's fair. I love lamp.
Then how is she reacting given what has happened and given this awakening of powers that only came about because she accepted and helped Braun in his own way as well?
I think it's more. Her expressions just are hard to read, anyways. She's very much
Mm-hmm.
like more
Stoic.
content. Yeah. It's that would be the emotion. It's like, okay, we've done something and it definitely is impactful. What's next? But I'm glad we did this. So it's more of a content. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe
A
it's
Mona
like a
Lisa
weight.
smile.
Not a
That's a good read.
smile, but there's a weight to her more so. I don't know if she's really happy
A
about.
weight.
Yeah.
More of a
Uh,
presence sort of thing. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
There's definitely a presence to how she is behaving. She always kind of has
mhm,
poisonous, but there's like the veil has been removed. There's something there.
mhm. And Braun, how are you feeling and emoting after what you've experienced?
Uh, very visible confusion. Uh,
Mhm.
happiness for sure. I think
Yep.
Brom definitely wouldn't be hiding a smile or anything. He'd just be smiling. Um, he'd be quite eager to tell um the party about all this. I think he'd be quite open about all this. Um, so yeah, I mean, be like, this is what just happened. Like, I still quite not process it properly. Like, you're not gonna believe what just happened. I think.
Mhm. There's a visible excitement with Braun.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, Dale, as you look upon your two companions, the familiar emoting of Odette, but an aura of acceptance of a power radiating, maybe not from her, but her candelabra, and a visible excitement and an eagerness from Braun. What are your immediate responses to this?
Um, what is it that we're doing at the moment? Or we just sort of sat
Yeah,
talking
so
as they walk
you
in?
you and Antic are just sitting at the bar, kind of speaking about what possibly is going on between the two of them, about the what you just experienced and how that's affected you, and then these two come in, with the emoting as I described.
Yeah, Dell would probably um like holding his drink, sort of thing. Just turn around and just kind of look at them and just be like, "Ah, where have you two been? We've I'm getting a little worried. We didn't really know where you went, and we thought you went to go do some shopping or something. You know what happened?"
We went to
Right.
Bronze Tree.
The asterisk. I did guess that. And they gone to Bronze Tree. Um, what what did you? I mean, what did you do? You seem a little confused uh, when you walked in, Bron. So I guess something else as weird has happened.
Yeah. Um, how to properly explain this? Um, we kind of combined our magics, I guess. I don't quite know how or why or what.
Is that a
Yes.
euphemism or?
No,
No, no, just
quite literally.
quite literally. Uh,
Mhm.
and then uh, we exchange magic items. Again, not a euphemism.
Quite literal.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. There was this like her sword is this like immense weight, but has this potential to it. Where her candelabra is incredibly light. Again, has this unimaginable potential to it, and I just had this feeling I could help. I guess in this moment, so I
Mhm.
tried, and something to do with um the power that I get from my amulet and my tree fueled this change in um her candelabra, and all the while she kept morphing firstly into this kind of devil, I guess, then into
What?
this weird. Yeah, I assumed you were doing that.
What are you
'Cause,
talking
I don't
about?
know, when I was holding your sword, you had grown small horns. You were looking at me angrily. That's why I returned it so readily. And then when I took the candelabra, you had grown small wings and eyes. You had a small halo, like a cracked halo.
I was
Um,
not aware of this.
and well, and then when I returned, well, when I gave you my amulet, you were human for a moment. Just that. That's why I've been so confused. I
I did not know I did that. I I don't know.
Got very.
so I mean, you can imagine the confusion then, because they're
Yes,
still very confused now.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up on the confusion as well.
Yeah.
understandably so.
Uh,
So if you have
Is
any thoughts, feelings, let us know.
oh, so you're saying you like fused your magic together, right? You. This is a quick question for the DM.
Hmm.
Just real quick. As an artificer who has worked with primarily like wands and sort of shaping um, like magical items and that kind of stuff,
Of course.
would I have any sort of vague knowledge of how like magic in itself works? Or would it be strictly from like an engineering point of view on how to put things together?
That is a great question. I'm going to say there is a baseline that you know,
Hmm.
and I will go into detail about that. But roll me a Arcana check to see if I can give you an additional information beyond what you know as an artificer.
So go to nat 20.
Holy shit!
26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
boy's
no.
got a big brain.
So
Fucking damn.
you, when you were
Out of the
studying, you had studied with the armorer,
Mhm.
the progenitor to the boomers,
Mhm.
the, at least into your mind, the greatest artificer that has ever and will ever live, and you are trying to get to their precipice of knowledge and expertise. Not trying to mimic them, mind you,
Mhm.
but trying to take what they taught you and evolve yourself. And they had taught you that the arcane was not as simple as the wizards at the Amethyst Academy or the clerics at the Church of the Holy Flame or the druids of the Old Faith would have you believe. That the arcane potential came from many sources. It could come from the divine, where people can become conduits for power. It could come from individuals tampering with the weave of magic, a fundamental force of the world. And it could have potentially catastrophic effects on it. And this would lead to a long historical speech about the wizards of old, about the whole wizard lords and the wizard king emperor that controlled the world until the church formed, until the first priest found the first paladin and rooted out arcane users and then persecuted them for almost 200 years until the academies were formed and a deal was struck whereby they would never become nobility, where they would only ever act as advisory bodies, but would be able to act independently in these academies to study their magic and gain a greater understanding. You effectively, with the armorer, are considered hedge mages, untaught, unbound by the academy, released to learn your magic and your abilities, free
Mic
from the
off.
supervision and restrictions, but on your own without the resources and capabilities of the many teachers the academy could offer. They could not provide the same teach the academy they could provide. Could you depend on them? And from them we would learn again the arcane forces from England and say flame and
Mic on.
Paladin
Mic off.
turn. From or elements contracted differently. Instead of being magic to use fleas, they would be allowed to call upon condoms to be
Mic on.
Sorry for the recording. Discord just crashed. I'm trying to fix it. I'll try and get Guy to do a recap of what just got missed. Sorry about that.
Mic off.
Lore is Warlock's powers, once it's been granted, it cannot be taken away.
Yeah, it's a permanent change to their
it's a
physical body,
permanent
even if they
change.
go against their patron.
Yeah.
I think
Which is
that's
quite
dumb. I think it should be the way around. That's why I
I,
think
th- I
that.
think it
Yeah,
should be, but it is also quite fun. Rather
Yeah.
as
It's like one of the things with like the paladins and stuff. But yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what I want to do is that paladins can get their magic from multiple sources. But it doesn't mean that your magic doesn't come from yourself. It does come from an otherworldly or divine being. They just see fit to give it to you because of how you feel about a certain thing. Also, you
Yeah.
good, Millie? Cool. Oh no.
Oh, damn.
I will see your audio quality has decreased. You're
Oh,
much
no.
more. I know why. I'm
You're a bit
just
tinny. I assume you're using your
yeah,
webcam
tinny. Yeah.
mic, not.
It does sound like you're using your webcam mic rather than just your microphone mic.
We've been here so many times before.
There you
There we
go.
go.
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you a
Because
bit to fix that. I'm just gonna word a conversation away. That's how I wanted to run in this world. That
Yeah.
you could have a purely passionate feeling about whatever it is. It could be, if in it's
Okay.
entirely devoted passion to the monarchy of of Drakkenheim,
Mhm.
and
Okay, things have gotten fixed.
cool. I'll just finish this, and then we can get back into the scene. Just because I want to finish the point I'm at. But depending on stuff talked about out of character, but how the character feels about you know Sacred Flame and other religions,
Mhm.
their power could become or come from other places. Doesn't inherently mean it's good. Doesn't inherently mean it's bad. But that's how I like to run, at least in this world, paladins.
It'd be like
No, I
them
love that.
drawing power from different places, sort of thing, based off of
Mhm.
like how devoted they might be to a specific thing or ideal or that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Um,
Doesn't just because it is a good concept inherently doesn't mean the power comes from inherently a good thing.
yeah.
But also in that sense doesn't mean that that power, if it is possibly inherently bad, doesn't mean it is wholly inherently bad.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I
Cool.
no,
Well,
I fully enjoy it. I like what you're doing with it.
yeah,
I look
but
forward to
but
exploring it more.
yeah, but Millie, were you good to go then?
Yeah, things start to cut out a bit before I drop the call. Well,
Okay,
uh,
I'll just go back a bit and
yeah,
restate what I said.
just a little bit. You're talking about the last thing I know I heard was talking about how you are technically hedge witches or like hedge
Cool.
mages. Yeah, it was
Good
that
to know.
area.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Edge wizards.
Perfect. I know exactly where we are from that. So apologies for repeating what I said, but just for the sake of recording. So technically speaking, Dell, you, the armor, and all the boomers were hedge mages. Individuals that had learned their magic through a non-academic teacher and experience and personal experimentation.
In his day, he didn't have teachers.
You had learnt your magic sort of on a whim, on a cusp, on a passion of a moment. But from the armor, you had learned that the arcane, or just magic in general, can be touched or pulled at by many different means, all similar in a regard, but different fundamentally. In the form of wizards and artificers, you pull at the strings of reality, the very fabric of the world. You pull at it and you change it to your desire. When you conjure a bolt of fire, you are creating both a fuel and spark in your hand and then launching it. Both breaking and completing fundamental aspects of the world, where fire requires fuel and air to exist. You then tweak it and bend it to cause it to also shoot out at a target. In concept, breaking the fundamental understanding of fire, but adhering to it at the same time. And that's what it means to be a self taught arcane practitioner, to change the world to your specifications while also simultaneously and almost contradictorily adhering to it. while those that pool magic from the divine, it comes from a being granting powers to individuals. It gives them a limit, a a level almost of what they can do at a certain time until they prove themselves worthy of more. And at that point, it is a very tactile, a very steadfast understanding of magic, whereby three different paladins from three very different oaths can cast three variations of the same spell, but each of them, while fundamentally casted differently, have the same effect. And that is that kind of casting. While the verbalizations, the prayers, and the movements to do them are different, the effect is the same because the same being or understanding of what these beings can give is the same. A paladin of the sacred flame versus a paladin of one of the old faith deities might cast cure wounds in a different way, but at the same ending, it is still the same spell. There is no room for modification or adaptation. There is a fundamental acceptance that this is what must be done. And then there is the patrons that differ from this. Ones that have exclusive and experimental and possibly dangerous spells. Now, this is a field that you had fully no experience with until coming in contact with Braun. Seeing how he wields spells, he wasn't wielding them at all. He was requesting power from a being beyond understanding, and it was giving it to him. Now, these spells were unruly, but they were powerful. While they were limited, they had room for infinite possibility. The way that he casts mage armor, for instance, is something that would require a normal wizard, someone that pulls on the strings of reality, considerable effort to conjure. But to Braun, it is on a whim, a snap of the fingers, and it happens. His power comes from a limitless source, but he is limited by that source.
Mhm.
And those are the sort of three distinct kinds of magic, at least that you have witnessed. You have no idea if there are other ways to pull on magic. But as far as you're aware, this is how it is done, this is how you do it. And with you specifically, you follow more the arcane sense, where you pull on the strings of magic to create effects, but you pull it a step further by taking the mundane that can be infused with magic and make it permanent, or at the very least, semi permanent. That is how your infusions are made. You take a portion of the world's magic and infuse it into the mundane. And unless you release that magic, it will be that way until you die. But you know, given time and effort, you could make it permanent even past your demise. And you know this because you look at your wand, this weapon of war. this thing wholly crafted to defend and to kill, because it was given to you by a friend, a mentor, a teacher, by the armorer. Do you tell your friends about your understanding of the arcane, about how, at least in your mind, in your understanding, this is how magic can affect different people?
Yeah. I was gonna go into that speech on the thing, but it's a lot of information. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's I would basically tell um sort of my understanding of magic and try to sort of reason as to a way of explaining sort of their fusion.
Yeah. I will say, normally I wouldn't give that information, but on a fucking nat 20, I had to.
Yeah, huge role.
Huge role.
Just
So
uh,
after Braun, sorry, not Braun, sorry, Dell tells these things to you, Braun and Odette, does anything come to either of your two minds after sharing this information with him and him sharing this information to you?
don't think anything springs to mind. No?
Yeah, nothing glaringly obvious or something like that.
Okay. So after saying that, Dell, you are sort of enwrapped in memories of past, and you feel like, at least for a time, you need to be by yourself and contemplate. It has been a while since you have thought of the teachings of the armorer and the boomers in general. It brings back many memories. Many memories of triumph, of loss, and at the very end of times, of complete and utter devastation. And all of this is compounded in that wand. This branch of some tree that you have never seen, but was given to you by someone that you would consider, again, a friend, a mentor, someone who wanted to keep you alive in a time where the whole world felt like it was trying to kill you. You feel like you need to take some time for yourself. So, what do you do as you feel this come about you?
Um, so as all of this has sort of happened, and I've gone through all the explanations, I have my sort of glass of whiskey. Um, you're just gonna you'd notice me just kind of staring at it, just sort of shaking it a little, watching the whiskey swirl around it, and without another word, I'm just gonna put the whiskey down, um, and I'm going to go and sit by the fire. Uh, Sort of thing. No words, no mention, no anything like that. Very clearly, like lost in sort of contemplation. I'll just stand up from the bar stool, go by the fire, and just sit there and stare at the flames.
You sit and you stare at these flames. The flames bring back memories. Memories of triumph, of sitting in front of a pyre after a battle well fought for, but also probably more prominently, fire, flame, and devastation. It brings you back to a time, to many different times. But at first, a young lad, barely a teen, working a field that will not sow any fruit. Your mother, she is so tired. Your father is gone. And you know, no matter how you till the soil, nothing will grow. But what do? For you know no other life. As you till the soil, you see a band of men and creatures, some you've never seen before. Orcs, furbolgs, goblins, dwarves, elves, Neblins. A band of unusual figures, unusual pasts march by. But the one leading them is tall and proud, though they don't stand ahead of anyone else. But their natural aura brings you to them. They are 7 feet tall, encased in iron. A blue cape attached to their back, and a tabard across their waist. A hammer in one hand and a hammer in another. This being stands before you. The only thing separating you is a shoddily built wooden fence. It looks at you. No eyes to peer, no slits even to stare into the darkness. It looks at you and says in a voice that can only barely be understood as human, say, boy, this land is cursed, rotted and made fallow by a rock from a place we do not understand. We do not understand, and yet it sows upon our land horrors and atrocities that seek to end us. It is so madness throughout this whole land, and war rages. You can till your field until your hands are calloused and bloody, until you and your mother lay weak and broken across these grounds in a futile attempt to fertile this soil. Or you can come with us, fight, and kill, so that you might see a future that is beyond meaningless toil and death. Might you sow death instead of sow nothing at all? What say you, boy? Will you work until your hands are bloody and not, but destined for the soil beneath your feet? Or will you march with us and see a future while stained with blood? Might see you down a path that might seek you glory and a future beyond these horrid lands.
I'd end up looking up at him in that memory, and just take sort of a moment, and I'll just say, I choose for us to survive. I will go with you and hope that I can bring a better life for myself and for my mother.
Then, boy, to march upon this new path means to burn the old. And he points to your family home, a small shack, if ever there was one. Just enough space for 3 people to live next to a hearth, and enough space to keep what meager belongings you own. What do you do?
Um, at this point, I'd know that, well, my mum is not in the building. Um,
No, she's next to you
but
at this point.
yeah, she's with me. I just look at her and just say, he's right. We can't stay here. We can't work the land, and we can't live like this. Any other
She.
way
Go ahead,
is
sorry.
better. I was going to say, any other way is better than this.
She is weak. You know, though she would never admit it, she's been giving you more food and water than she's been allowing herself. Her lips are chapped, her tongue dry, her eyes sunken in her own skull. With what little strength she has, and with what few tears she can muster, she nods and takes a step away from the home that you have lived in your whole life.
I walk up to the building and go to light it on fire. I assume with like a torch of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And then
You
I light it on fire and head back, and I'm just stood there, sort of holding my mother's hand, pretty much, as we watch the house burn.
you walk into your home, comforting place. One of the few places you can say it was yours and your mother's. You take a poker, wrap it with cloth, and stick it into the hearth where some embers lie from the night's fire. You dump it onto the bed that you and your mother had shared, not for any other reason but to share warmth, to save on firewood so you would not freeze when the cold had crept into your home. And in but a few moments, your home is alit with flame, and the armorer and all those eclectic bunch come around you and your mother. They place a hand on your shoulder and they nod with you with a comfort and an understanding that you had not known until now. The armorer places a cloak around your shoulder. A cloak bearing the insignia of a coin guard. And as he places this cloak around you and your mother, again he stares down at you with an implacid metal face, but says words which comforted you more than any other that has ever been said to you. Welcome, boy, to your new family. We will care for you as no one has ever cared, for we will now know that you had shed your past life for us, and we will shed our lives for you, as you will shed yours for ours. And from that day on, you marched with them. You learned from them. You fought with them. You celebrated with them. But you mourned from them. And you mourned much. Your mother, a mixture of a cook and a medic at all the same time, offering what comfort she could to those that became her kin, same as you. The Cohen Guard saw the boomers as a vanguard, ones that could be thrown at the front to deal devastating damage. But what suffering they caused from that, and what suffering they took on themselves. Each battle came a loss of friends, a loss of people that taught you, that knew you, that were family to you. And at each meager burial, which could not be marked more than the passing prayers of a minister and the markation of twig burial markings, you moved on. Each year, your friends and family diminished. Each battle hardened you, strengthened you, made you both embittered and impassioned to fight. Until a fateful day. Until the Battle of Fort Ubersreich. A strategically important fort on the ford of a river, an old river, the River Draken. You were fighting for, supposedly, a lord that could claim lineage to the house of Drakkenheim, the House von Kessel. But you do not care for titles or for names. You cared for the coin, and you cared that it would allow you and yours to fight another day. So fighting near the city of Altberg, Fort Ubersreich, fort across the river, branching off here, near the accursed city of Drakkenheim. The boomers were specifically requested to offer artillery support from this fort. The armorer was confident that you and yours could hold this fort. But the enemy forces brought something to play. A necromancer. one that could twist the lives of living creatures and fuse them into monstrosities you had never seen before. The vanguard was not of men, but of monsters, harrowing the forces that fought on the ground and tearing at the walls once they had got past them. Each spell you cast was one cast of desperation, cast so that you might survive. The battle lasted 4 bloody days. 4 days of constant assault. 4 days of tireless screams from monsters brought from creatures that had no business being fused. Friends around you, ones who had taught you valuable skills, ones that had shown you kindness, dropping one by one by one. Until that last day, when the fort could be barely manned, your mother down below, treating the many wounded. The armorer beaten and almost broken. You were a man at this point, but barely. You had fought in battles and you had killed. This was not in question. You were not a coward and you were not a boy that would run away in the face of peril. In fact, you were emboldened. Your youth being again fight against these abominations. But you were amongst few. And so the armorer looked down at the horde of monsters and men brought back by foul magics. And he looked at you, youthful and spry, and he said, "Boy, no, my friend, would you die with us this day, knowing that we could not keep this fort?"
Gladly.
The bravery of youth. You should not die here. We can hold them for a time. You and your mother should take those sick and wounded and leave. Take them so that they might live and might tell our story. For if not, we and they will die alike, and none will tell it. So, my friend, will you do this for me? This last act that we can give? Or will you die with us, fighting for naught, but for aimless and worthless honor and glory?
I will look after our people. And I'll make sure that you are remembered. Everyone here. And that those responsible for this will pay, one way or another. You have my word.
In times of war, men can become embittered. I am glad to know that we taught you well, to know to care for your fellow man and comrade. Remember us, and in your coming battles, fight for us. For even in our afterlife, we will fight for you. Need not think of revenge, for it is a foolish man that would seek to kill for those that are already dead. So long as you live, and live contently, you will do each and every one of us a service. Take this. And he hands to you a wand. A wand you know he's take special care with. This is the day you've met him. A wand he's never let anyone else touch, let alone give. It will do well by you, so long as you do well by it.
Thank you, my friend. Take care of it. And with that, I'll give him the boomer style salute, which is like the one from Attack on Titan. You got,
Mhm.
you got.
The hand on front and back,
Yeah, the hand in the front, no one in the back. Yeah.
symbolizing a forward passion, even in defeat and retreat. You gather your mother and the wounded and sickened, and make a breakout attempt at the back of the fort, while the remainder of the boomers fight valiantly to defend you. It's not enough, though. Soon as you are running away from this fort, it is overtaken, and the flag of the noble that you had hired, or had hired you, is lowered, and there it is risen. But even in victory, they chase after you. Arrow and spell launched at you. Each volley, a sickened and wounded man falls. One by one by one, they fall. Until it is you, your mother, and one other sickened man left. You run through the woods past a rushing river, being followed by the abominations cast by this foul wizard and necromancer. As you run, a bolt shoots past, almost striking your mother, but the wounded man jumps in the way just in time. Struck in the back, he falls, unable to move. As you go instinctively to help him, he calls out to you, "No! Run! Run like your life depends on it, boy, 'cause it does. I'm out, boy. I'm out of it. Let me die at least with my spurs intact." Pulling out a blade hidden in a boot. "I'll hold him off for a bit. You go. Now, boy." Do you run
I'll
or do you
grab on.
fight?
I'll grab on to my mother, and well, I'd basically try to make sure that she's out running in front.
Mhm.
And I'll fire back a few bolts to help uh, the down man.
You run
Mm-hmm.
alongside this raging river. keeping an eye on the wounded man that had saved your mother's life, firing back fire bolts to wound or kill the men that would eventually overcome him. And you get a few, but more than a few are chasing you now. And in this clearing by this river, where you could not acknowledge the deaths of your comrades fighting on the ground, you clearly see this man's die, slashing and stabbing at those abhorrent abominations of man and beast. You see him take more than a few, more than you would think. But eventually they overcome him, ripping at his flesh, tearing, till he is but a bloody mass beneath their feet. You have no time to mourn, for you have to run. You run and you run, and eventually you make it to a crossing at the river. A hail of bolts and arrows come towards you, and you try to raise your wand to deflect them as much as you can. You close your eyes and raise your wand, looking away, not wanting to see one of them become your imminent demise. But as you open to stare, you see your mother embracing you. A hail of bolts and arrows in her back. She looks at you. That warm, comforting smile you have known for all these years, broken by blood dripping out of her mouth, down her cheek, and onto her chest. You can see she goes to say something, but the words cannot come to her. But you can see them mouthed. Live. I love you. As the weight of her body falls and drags you into the river. Being pulled by the current, you quickly washed away. Another hail of arrows strike into you, or into your mother, I should say. Even past her death, she protects you. You don't know how long you spend washed in that river, but it is long enough to get away. Traveling down and down and down that stream. Eventually making it to a crossroads, putting Geldstout and Landhelm. You pull yourself cold and weary onto shore. Your mother, long since passed. A hail of bolts and arrows cover her. You kneel in front of her. The last words of friends echo in your mind. And for a time, you feel like succumbing to the sorrow. To just lie down and let the natural elements take you. But each one of their cries reminds you they did not die, so that you could be a coward and refuse to live. What would Dell do at this bank in between Lanshelm and Get Stout with the body of his mother?
probably pull his mother uh, out of the river, and he'd break off the bolts so that they're not completely sticking out from her. And he'd set up a small burial, the same way all the boomers had been buried before, with sticks, sort of marking the gravesite, sort of thing. And the final words being, "Rest well, mother. Your fight is over for now. I love you." And sort of kiss the like the markings for it, and pretty much like holding back tears, sort of thing. Um, I'd make my way down to Gelstadt, uh, knowing roughly the sort of the land, and just sort of go from there.
After the final burial of a boomer, with you being the final one remaining, you trek through the wilderness with what little you had on you to Geldstadt, fighting wilderness creatures and abominations of nature, not a man-made abomination. You would eventually make it there, and with your insignia of the Coin Guard, the local detachment there would take you in, tend to your wounds, and eventually set you free. They would offer to let you join them, but they are not your family. You are the final boomer. And so you set about traveling Westmar, doing right by their name, hunting those unworthy of the Coin Guard, traitors and betrayers, bandit and brigand, monster and abomination. Maybe unintentionally, maybe intentionally, you became cold. You had lost so many. You did not wish to love more in fear of losing them too. And so you traveled alone for some time, gaining a reputation, gaining skills that would become useful. Until eventually, dreams would plague your every night of a kingdom wrought by ruin, but capable of restoration. A kingdom that must be fought for and by others. Others you had yet to know at that time. And yet, with the fear of losing them before you even knew it, you followed the stream, quite literally, until you met them. until you traveled with them, until you fought beside them, until you watched them die for you. It brought back memories, terrible memories, but at the same time, great memories. Memories of camaraderie, of family, of duty that you had almost forgotten, that had almost been drowned out by the misery. So as you sit in front of that hearth, staring at those flames, what is Dell feeling?
Sorrow is probably, yeah, yeah. He's remembering the good times, the bad times, and he's sort of reliving everything that has happened up to this point as he's staring at the fire. And it's very clear that he just looks lost, sort of thing. Just like yeah, he just looks lost. Both in the literal sense, in that he's just sort of staring at the fire, and also in the sense that he's just sort of remembering where he sort of came from and the kind of memories that he's had. The boomers.
As you feel this loss, this feeling of losing those around you, you remember what the armor said to you. To live for us, to not forget us, and to fight for us. As Boomer remembers these things, what would come to his mind?
It'd be almost like a not quite a 180 to his demeanor, but he'd almost, like, as he sort of sat staring at the fire, he's got his drink, um he'd like perk up a bit, chest sort of held high, and it's realizing that no matter the sort of pain that he's gone through before, it is now his duty to honor his comrades, honor boomers, his mother, the words of the armorer, and everyone who's died for him to be here. And he's sort of overcome more by this sort of sense of determination now more than ever to live. And yeah, that's the kind of thing he'd be quite visible. He's feeling.
As you feel this almost awakened feeling of duty to those past, but to those present with you now, to fight for them as well as to fight for those that have passed you. There is this pride welling up inside that coincides with a feeling of brimming magic. You hold this wand in your hand, given to you by a mentor, and I don't want to sound out of turn, but a father figure as well.
Mhm.
And you see across its shaft a rune, or multiple runes, I should say, begin to burn into it. You don't know if this was something that was placed upon the staff, given to you by the armorer, or by the sheer determination of your own passion. But regardless, it is there. And it burns so bright. Feeling this power burning in you and in this wand. Is there anything that Dell would do?
Um, he'd lean into it. He's it's good to have these sort of moments, is what he's kind of going through his head. He'd really lean into it, and he'd sort of almost like intensify it, becoming even more proud, gripping onto the wand, um, like with, I guess, more meaning behind it, sort of thing. Um, yeah, he'd look to intensify it, lean into the feeling.
You grasp this rod, this wand, with a passion. A passion to serve, again, those that have passed, but those that are with you, and to honor their memory. You are Del Boomer Tarmarian, the last of the boomers, and you will do their memory service and then some. As you hold this wand, you point it into the flames of the hearth that are failing, and you feel a power welling inside you. And with that, you burst with magical fire, with flame out from your wand, lighting the hearth with a brand new and rapturous flame, casting the whole room in a vibrant warmth. Dell, your wand now acts as a circlet of blasting. But instead of using the standard +5, you use your spell to hit modifier. And
Mhm.
you now, so long as you have the wand, know the scorching spell or scorching ray spell.
I will update all of this stuff on my
That is huge.
character sheet.
But to the rest of you, i.e., Braun and Odette, that are seeing Boomer having this somber moment for quite some time, contemplating silently in front of the hearth for the better part of an hour, possibly longer, you would see him stand up with this wand that you had seen him use in combat many times. Now across its shaft is this scorched markings across it. And as Dell points them at the fire, shoots out these three beams of scorching energy into the fire. And there is this palpable energy of arcane awakenness or enlightenment that both of you can feel, especially given your own enlightenment to what you understand about the arcane. Yours, though, being an awakenedness from the understanding of how your patrons work. Dell's feels like an awakenedness of his own potential from past experience and future determination. He has pulled upon the weave and awakened something inside him that has been amplified by something he was given. So, as you see this, would Braun or Odette say or do anything?
Uh, how's Braun's pyrophobia doing?
Not very great.
Nah.
Yeah.
I think I would jump back from the flames. Be quite scared. Walk
I-
to like the other side of the room type thing.
Because of the time
Not a
period, I
proper,
assumed
like-
we were just cooking dinner while this was happening. Braun was just making food.
Chopping veg.
Whoa! What's that flame doing? Just like freak out in the kitchen. Odette, nonplussed. Nothing changes as normal. What? What happened?
Nice one. Man, my brain is so slow at the moment.
It's very late for you guys.
It is very late, yeah.
It's getting late for me. It's very late for you.
I don't think there's anything particular Braun would say. It's like careful with the fire, obviously.
Yeah.
So you say we feel a sort of kindred epiphany type thing. Like,
Yes.
Hmm.
You feel like you have all of you in this room right now. Bar. Excuse me. Bar. Asterisk.
and tied up.
Well,
Tyler.
yeah. Well, Tara's not magic to begin with.
No, fair enough.
Could be.
Multi-class.
Bar those two. Bar those two. It feels like you three
Mhm.
have come into an awareness and almost an enlightenment about your own potential and power. That this is where you are now is but the first steps onto greater power that beyond what you can gain from the sort of path that you've walking down currently, that through self growth and through growth together, that there is more that you can achieve.
The power of friendship.
V2.
It's how we're gonna save
Power of
Drakkenheim. The power of
Hell yeah.
friendship.
For the new boomers, am I right, guys?
We're the new
I
boomers.
thought you just put thumbs up then.
Yeah.
There we go.
Just thumbs up.
New boomers.
What are we? What's our team name? What was it called again?
Dream
Dream
Delvers.
Delvers.
Dream Delvers. That's it. The Dream Delver Boomers squad.
Dream Boomer Squad.
Just keep adding words to it.
So, as Dell, sorry, becomes aware of this new power through him, but channeled through this wand, what does he do?
He dips Paladin.
Just a little dip.
Just a little dip. I would probably just take like a closer look at the runes themselves that are inscribed into it. And like just feeling that I internally understand what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put my weapon back in its holster, the wand holster.
The runes that are inscribed on your wand
Mhm.
are in a dialect you do not understand. But you are comfortable enough to say these runes represent a fire or power in some avenue that has granted you the awareness to cast this new spell channeled
Mhm.
through this wand. But you yourself do not speak or understand
The
whatever
language.
rune or what language this rune is carved in.
What language is it?
Is it dead?
What language is it?
It's celestial,
Is
isn't
it?
it?
I got that. No.
Damn it.
Abyssal.
I was just
Nope.
like, it's celestial, and the sacred flame is turning him into a paladin.
Dwarvish.
It's not dwarvish.
Then I'm out of
Is it
languages.
orc?
Common.
Is
Orc.
it common?
Is it common?
common?
No. Just be the worst.
It's not it's not common.
I said Elvish. What the fuck?
Elvish? Asterisk, get in here.
I'll leave Asterisk alone as it is leading on to his
Mhm.
character moment that this would inspire.
We're getting rewarded for trauma dumping, and I find that very funny.
It's true.
At least Braun and
Therapy
Odette did.
works.
We got a reward because we trauma dumped with
What?
each other. Tella's doing some
That was
self-reflection.
an internal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an internal self-reflection.
And that's dealing with his trauma. So by dealing with our trauma, we are getting rewarded and more powerful. And to that, I think is funny. All right. If that's it, I'll stop the recording.
Unless there's anything additional Braun wishes to do, or sorry, not Braun, Braun, or Det wishes to do. Yeah, please call there.
Only Braun.
I want to
no,
Braun is the
murder
main character.
everybody.
Oh,
No. Just like,